Well, hello everyone, and welcome in to the six screens of the Watchtower. We really appreciate you coming in and wanting to spend some time with us tonight. And we're looking so forward to the callers calling in from pretty much all over the world. So if you could muster up the courage tonight and call in, that would be wonderful. And I'll talk about even some prizes I'll give you. But anyways, my name's Rick Farron. I'm coming to you from the apostate capital of the world, right up here in Boston, Massachusetts. I'm not going to go into it tonight, but friends, we could brag about it. This is the apostate capital of the world. And one of these nights, I usually tell you, but I don't have time tonight. But anyways, what I did want to discuss with you is, well, first of all, happy Valentine's Day. Oh my goodness, it's Valentine's Day already. Can you believe that? And well, you get it, you know it. Jehovah's Witnesses, well, they don't celebrate Valentine's Day. Even many of us out here, where we were associated with them for so long, we have a little difficult time as well. You see, the Jehovah's Witnesses, they believe that it's rooted in, you guessed it, pagan tradition and false religion. Well, they say that about every holiday, right? Rooted in pagan traditions and false religion. They consider the holiday, that is, this holiday, was linked to the ancient Roman festivals. And we know the Romans had many festivals, right? So this particular one they linked to Valentine's Day, according to the Watchtower, is Lupercalia. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right or not, but to me it looks like Lupercalia. Now, what is that all about? Well, that is a festival where they believe, well, in fertility rituals and immoral practices. Well, that took place back in Rome. And of course, the Watchtower was saying that's contrary to the Bible. Well, it would be. I mean, who wants to be involved in fertility rituals and immoral practices contrary to the Bible? But also they're saying here pagan origins. We know the Watchtower has to say everything about every holiday, and then even they had that to say about Groundhog Day. I mean, we just passed Groundhog Day, and the witnesses, even believe it or not, they even have something to say about Groundhog Day being involved in pagan practice. But anyways, pagan practices about Valentine's Day is something that the Watchtower encourages its members not to be involved with. As a matter of fact, you celebrate holidays as one of Jehovah's Witnesses, you could be disfellowship for that, or as they say right now, removed. Well, the name stems from Saint Valentine. Well, he sounds like a pretty good guy, right? I mean, he was just trying to make people fall in love, I guess, according to the stories I read about it. And so they avoid these holidays that venerate religious figures. All they have to do is hear the word saint, and that's not for us. No, they don't claim to have any saints except for the governing body, right? So, anyways, expressing love daily. That's something that always was asked us when we were Jehovah's Witnesses. They would come to us and say, well, gee, don't you want to celebrate Christmas? I mean, look at the kids. They're going to be deprived, and you're not going to give any gifts. I mean, that's no way to really enjoy the occasion of Christmas. But of course, we always had an answer, right? We'd say, well, we show the love to our children every day. We get them gifts all the time. We don't wait for one specific tradition-based day to give our children or anyone else a gift. I mean, that's their defense, right? So while they don't participate in the holiday, they may exchange gifts at other times, but not on Valentine's Day either. No, they're not gonna buy any candy hearts. They're not gonna give anybody a box of chocolates. It doesn't happen. So I just wanted to bring that up, but I want to show you something here. I want to show you something. My wife Susan, look at these cookies. Susan and I, after the program tonight, we are going to we're going to have our own little Valentine celebration. Yeah, we couldn't do it as a witness, but look at these cookies. She got these cookies from Amazon. I can't believe it. These are really good looking cookies. I'm not trying to promote them, but white chocolate raspberry cookies. But what impressed me is from Tate's. Put it up so you can see it. Tate's Bake Shop. Now, that is in the Southamptons in New York. Oh, that sounds like a pretty rich bakery to me. I'm really dying to try one of these cookies. So after the program tonight, Susan and I, we're going to celebrate Valentine's Day together. And I hope you guys can do it as well. And we wish you all a happy Valentine's Day. Now, before we get into the news tonight, I did want to tell you about these books. We've got some beautiful books here that I want to talk about. And these books have been given to us. We have a good friend. His name is Jim Hill. He's a former Jehovah's Witness, and he has helped us a lot. We really appreciate the effort Jim has made. Now, what he has done is, have you heard of Lulu Publishing? Oh, Lulu Publishing. It's a publishing house. And what they do is they reprint books that are out of copyright, and they also print books that are new on the market if you want to have your book published. But the reason why I bring this up is we have a number of books that he sent me. This one here's a new one. It's called Grave Matters. And if you look close, you can see Russell's grave, the tombstone. Of course, it's gone now, but it talks about that. And it gives people a general idea of Russell's grave site and what that was all about and why it matters. And we also have other books here. We have this book right here. It's called Captors of a Concept. Now, this book actually got Susan, my wife, out of the so-called truth. It's written by a man by the name of James Cameron. And I'd like, I'll just condense it. I'm not going to give you a whole story about it, but I'm just going to go with one word. I don't want to ruin the book for you, but I'm going to tell you what the word is. Faithful and discreet slave. What Don Cameron says in this book is the faithful and discreet slave is the nucleus of the Jehovah's Witness religion. Without that, they're dead in the water. Great book. I'd like to give it away to you. We also have another book here where you heard of this one. You know, if you bought the Millions Now Living book on eBay, you could pay upwards of $200 for original copy. Well, this isn't the original copy, but it's verbatim. Everything the original copy had in it. Jim Hill, as we call him, he, you know him as Nathan Natus on JWN, and he's had these all reprinted on his own dime. He spent a lot of money doing this, and we appreciate it, as we say. But this book here, Millions Now Living, that is the book. That is the book that really showed how foolish Rutherford was and how he got that San Diego mansion and he was waiting for the prophets of old to come back. Well, this book will talk all about that, and you'll find it very, very fascinating. So by all means, if you're a new caller calling in tonight, I'll ask you when you call in. If I forget to, just write me at jwworldnews@gmail.com. And what I'll do is say, hey, Rick, I was on the program. I'd like to have the book. I'll mail you the book. Won't cost you a penny. I'll pay for shipping. We'll make sure it gets out to you. All right. But I'll need your address. I'm not going to share it with anybody. Don't be afraid. The elders won't be checking you out. But go ahead, by all means, and ask for the book. Okay. Let's see what else is going on behind the curtains. I just want to double check here and make sure that we're being heard okay. It looks that way. Let's see what's going on here. Yeah. Okay. All right. There we go. We are being heard. I like to check because, when you're doing audio and you're doing video streaming, when you're doing it, you're hoping everything is working. So it is working here tonight, by the way. So let me take a look. Let's see what's going on behind the curtains of the Watchtower. Well, boy, I'll tell you what. Watchtower is very angry after Norway. Now that pleases me really immensely. So you say, well, what are they angry about? Well, they're angry about a lot. Let me tell you some of the things that they're trying to pull off. Do you know avoidjw.org? Well, that's a website by apostates, and it's called avoidjw.org. And it's hosted by a server called Cloudflare. Now, what Cloudflare does is if you have a website and you want to put pitches, or in this case, what Cloudflare did is on jwavoid.org. It's nothing to do with Jehovah's Witnesses. Like I say, it's an apostate site. But this Cloudflare, they had the complete publications. You could get on Cloudflare right off of their website, and you could download Watchtower, publications in their entirety. And this was really, you could get a lot of publications on that website. Maybe some of you have, but it's not up now. Watchtower subpoenaed Cloudflare, the server of this website for the apostates, avoidjw.org. It subpoenaed them, and it looks like the site is temporarily down. And they were citing copyright laws. According to Watchtower, I read some of the court papers this week about it. In court in New York, they are accusing Cloudflare of copyright violation. So evidently it is down. And this has been an ongoing action on the part of the Watchtower. They are on a witch hunt. They are trying to find people that are really causing a lot of problems for them. Now, we haven't been bothered here at the 6 Screens of the Watchtower. And one reason is when we put stuff up on our website, 6screensofthewatchtower.com, we only put up a portion of it. We don't give you the whole magazine or the whole book to read, because that would be somewhat in violation of copyright. So what we do is, for educational purposes, we are allowed to put some information up, and it is for educational purpose, but we just can't put the whole book up there because they could come after you. So we hope the best for avoidjw.org. We hope that it'll be for the best. Now, just to get into the court here, we know Watchtower's all upset, and we know there's no verdict yet. Now, Monday, I know you folks been watching, so you're probably saying, well, Rick, that's old news. But for our audience here tonight, it might be new news. But there was no verdict in the Norwegian case against the Watchtower. So there's no verdict yet. The Supreme Court, there's 5 Supreme Court justices, and they're still hashing it over and trying to decide what's going to happen. Now, is the Watchtower going to be guilty? Now, there's a thin line here, folks. We know lying took place by the lawyers for the Watchtower. They lied, bald-faced lies in court. We all know that. You'd have to be hiding under a rock if you don't. But the point that I would like to make concerning this is, no matter what the decision is, this is our week, friends. This is our week to really celebrate. You say, celebrate, Rick? We haven't heard a verdict yet. Well, I'm already celebrating, to tell you the truth. Whether the Watchtower wins or whether Watchtower loses, I hope they lose. But if they win, it's still going to be my week. It's going to be your week. And the fact is that this case has gotten so much media coverage. It's a good sign. Millions of people were watching all over the world, and for the first time getting familiarized with how harmful Jehovah's Witnesses and their practices are. Now, independently of the outcome, we don't know what the outcome is, but the Supreme Court's ruling on this case will set a precedent. Yes, believe it or not, it will set a precedent. The world is now watching. Now, really, I checked into it. I'm going to show you a little video here. Hold on one second. Now, in Norway, it's all over the television. It's all over the radio stations. It's all over the newspapers. People all over Europe are seeing it. And this is really good PR for the ex-witness world, friends. But I'm going to show you a little clip. It's all over. In fact, there's one particular, it's like a television program. I want you to see it here. Hold on one second. Let me just get it up on my StreamYard stream here. And I want to share the screen, but I want you to see this. Now, it's in Norwegian, so you're not really gonna be able to to appreciate it in its entirety. But the reason why I want to bring it up is so that you will be able to at least get a little idea. Now, this is a talk show, and it's I'm getting it off of YouTube, but it's been uploaded to that. But it's kind of like a Saturday Night Live is here. They make kind of fun little satire. So, a little satire. I don't know exactly what they're saying because it's in Norwegian, but I'll give you a little idea. Let's play the clip. Let's play the clip, and let's play it right now.
Følg tidenes rettssak, bortsett fra den andre. I Høyesterett, Jehovas vitner mot staten. Det store spørsmålet brøt staten Jehovas vitners religionsfrihet da de trakk statsstøtten? Og ikke minst, var Jehovas vitner våkne da staten gjorde det?
Ja,
fortell om rettssaken, Johan.
Ja, det en rettssak I Norge, og det får enorm internasjonal oppmerksomhet.
Faktisk?
Ja, det gjør det. Det masse folk da, frafallende fra Jehovas vitne, som kommer og lurer på, kan dette her kanskje gi presedens? Så den får enorm, rett og slett.
All right. So you kind of get the idea. Let me just. Well, you got the idea, folks. It's like Saturday Night Live. You can see there's a lot of laughing in the background. It's all in Norwegian, but what they were saying is, they're kind of, exposing the witnesses. Boy, they were showing how bad the witnesses are. It wasn't good PR for the witnesses. I'll tell you that right now, according to information I've been reading here in English. But it was a very good way to expose these bums. And Norway is getting their full ears, tickled by what's been going on the last week there in Norway. So we really won the PR war. We won the PR war this year, and I really mean that. I mean, you seen all of the things that were going on that court. It was making many people really upset. But the public response in Norway, everyone seems to be in favor of Norway. Now, we'll only have to see what happens. I'm not saying the Watchtower is losing. I'm not saying they're winning, but we'll have to see. And, I'll tell you, really, when you stop and think about it, all of this exposure in Norway right now, and even here in America, of course, we're not reading too much about what's going on in Norway, but us ex-witnesses are because we're following it. But it's a nice tribute. It really, really is. Norway, I want to thank you. It's a nice tribute to the international ex-Jehovah's Witness community. And we're all part of that, right? 10 years ago, just roll the clock back 10 years ago. What wasn't that long ago, right? Ex-Jehovah's Witnesses really was a small, unknown minority nobody really cared about. Now, nobody ever cared about ex-Jehovah's Witnesses 10 years ago. I mean, what's an ex-Jehovah's Witness? Well, we know we're getting a major tribute here, friends. We're getting points up on the scoreboard. People are now realizing who ex-JWs are. And these are people, many of them came forward and talked to the Norwegian government, the Australian government with the Royal Commission in Pennsylvania. The ex-witnesses came forward, talked about abuse. Now, all within 10 years, us ex-JWs, man, we should be really straightening our tie out, walking with poise. We should be really, really happy. The world is now understanding what we are and what we had to go through by being in a cult. So to see this highlighted on like a Saturday night program, Saturday Night Live type program in Norway, and it's really one of the top spots in the whole Norway and the whole country of Norway on their TV programs. So exposure of Jehovah's Witness practices, in my way of thinking, is more important than even a court verdict. Yes, the exposure of the evil, destructive organization known as Jehovah's Witnesses, it's even more important to at least me and us ex-witnesses than perhaps even a court verdict. People now know who Jehovah's Witnesses are. And can you remember, I can, And, the Watchtower used to brag. Oh, they love bragging. They brag, tell you all the time how great they're doing, what a wonderful organization. But do you remember many years ago? I hope you do. I do. And they actually said that when they go to court, and they've been to court numerous times in the past, and they'll say that these court cases that they were involved in, and you remember some of them, they went to court over preaching in New Jersey. They weren't supposed to preach on the sidewalk. They went to court about, paying. They didn't want Jehovah's Witnesses to pledge allegiance to the flag. They won that one. So they bragged. They bragged about these court cases. So I can remember them even saying it and even reading it in some of their publications, how they would always say that by going to court, when the Jehovah's Witness Watchtower goes to court, they have the opportunity to proclaim the good news to high-ranking people. Oh, my goodness. Well, here we are now in Norway. Are they going to say this about that? Are they going to say that here they had an opportunity to proclaim the good news to high-ranking people? Geez, people listening to those lying bums, boy, they have tarnished their image. Jehovah, he should strike these people down immediately. God doesn't want Jehovah. God wouldn't want to be on their side, lying in court and being like that. Oh, my goodness. And then the other thing I learned, and I talked about this last week, Rysdell, the lawyer for the Watchtower, the main guy, well, he's not even one of Jehovah's Witnesses. You know that. We talked about that. Well, I told you last week he's making $600 an hour. Yeah, that's the price of truth in Norway. $600 an hour. Anders Rysdale. Just to give you an idea, okay? Now, the first trial, we know this trial has been going on for about 6 years, but the first trial that Watchtower had with Anders Rysdale and how he came in and was trying to really convince the court that, the witnesses have a right to collect the money and they have a right to do what they do. You know what he got for that? You have any idea how much he made for that? He made $4.3 million. That's how much the Watchtower paid him for the first trial. That's just the first trial. That's not this last one they went before the Supreme Court. That's for the trial leading up to the Supreme Court. $4.3 million. Now, that, run the numbers. The Watchtower is making approximately, they were making, they don't have the money right now. They're not getting it until the court comes across. But they were making $1 million and about $1.25 million a year. So they paid this Rysdale, non-Jehovah's Witness defense lawyer, $4.3 million. That's 3 times more, just about 3 times more than they would collect from Norway. This is big bucks. It costs a lot of money to pay a lawyer that's willing to lie over and over. What would you pay a lawyer to lie? Boy, what a weak person that would be. Would you lie for money? Would you actually go into court and lie to a judge? Willing to lie to make $4.5 million? Would you? Maybe some listening to this program would. I don't know. It's sickening. It's sickening. And what really is irking a lot of people out there is we were told when you and I were all growing up, right, as young Jehovah's Witnesses, we were all told that higher education was taboo, and we had to trust in Jehovah. Jehovah will bring us through whatever difficulties we might have in life. Trust in him. But when it comes to millions at stake for the Watchtower, boy, all of a sudden, they need higher educated people. They need liars, is what they need to go into court. So they hire the most expensive secular elite lawyers that money can buy. And, I'm just thinking, if the witnesses would hear this, and I'm sure many ex-witnesses are hearing this, paying all this money out for this Rysdale lying lawyer, probably they remember they were sitting in a Kingdom Hall Do you remember sitting in a Kingdom Hall? And of course, they were saying that, it really would be good if you could put more money in the box, and may Jehovah be with you and thank you ahead of time and all of this. Well, many people are probably sitting in a Kingdom Hall, probably even right now, and they're PMEs. They're physically in, and they're terrified. Maybe they're sitting in the Kingdom Hall and they're terrified about losing their job. And maybe they're going to be homeless, as many people are right now. And they're wondering where the next buck is going to come from. And imagine them hearing that the Watchtower just paid out it will be more than that, 4.3 million for the old trial, probably another couple of million. He probably made $6 million, this Rysdale lawyer. So, and then they're telling the people, they never tell you that, you don't read when in the Watchtower publications every year, they tell you the amount of money they spend. You never read that these dedicated funds that Jehovah's Witnesses are so willingly to give to Jehovah's organization, they never really tell you that these funds are going to a lawyer to tell lies to a judge, do they? They don't tell you that. This type of hypocrisy, it's keeping many people awake at night, including me. It really does. It's so, it could almost, you would almost like to slap these guys in the face. You really would. This is money that the Watchtower is really after. They want money. They claim that the money that they collect goes to kingdom halls in poor countries. Well, for that salary, Rysdale has little knowledge of how the cult he works for really is. Really, he's taking the money. But what they tell the people and what they do is two different things. That is the definition of hypocrisy. I find it interesting. I was in the Watchtower for 50 years, and I'm sure there's people listening into this program that have listened in longer or been witnesses longer than I were. But I find it interesting that we couldn't vote. We could not vote being Jehovah's Witnesses. We were told, because we are no part of the world. You don't vote, you're not part of the world. However, they seem to really want the world's money, right? Oh, they're willing to go in and take money from Norway. But yeah, we're not supposed to be any part of the world. Now, I have been told, and I believe this is a fact. I believe, but I'm not sure. But I've been told that Mormons in Norway, the other cult in Norway, they don't take the country's money. And that leaves them free to worship without interference. Well, see, they're smart. They're smart. They don't need the money from Norway. They don't want to. Look, when you start taking money from people basically own you. They'll dictate to you. This is what's happening now. Norway's saying, look at you. You might not get this money. You don't do what we tell you to do. You don't get the money. Well, the Mormons in Norway, they don't really take the money. They don't get the charity like Watchtower, because then they can have freedom of worship. They can do whatever they want because they get no money from the country. So see, Jehovah's Witnesses, they want it both ways. They want it both ways. They will never stop taking money from the state, and yet at the same time, they want to practice their religion the way they want to do it. They say that they are funded by voluntary donations, giving the impression that is all the money is coming from the rank and file. And we know that's not the case. We know they're selling off kingdom halls. We know they have that asset management firm in Ireland. All of this hokey pokey baloney the Watchtower is feeding to the rank and file. Well, you guys are smart enough. If you're a witness listening into this program tonight, listen to what we're saying. Check it out. Look, with AI today, this is the destroyer. I talked about years ago, and even right up till last year, before the advent of AI totally, I talked about how the internet was the great equalizer. Well, I'll tell you, AI is the great destroyer of the Watchtower. According to this, but see, what's going to happen here, according to their theology, and they always like to bring scriptures in and, play this Christian way about them, which we know they're not. But, even if they get a bad verdict in Norway and then they lose, well, they're going to blame it on Satan. They're going to say that the state or the country of Norway is on Satan's side and they're trying to destroy us. That's what they'll say. And they'll get people to buy this baloney. Their arrogance will eventually catch up with them big time. They will claim it's Satan is the reason why Norway's got them in a big mess right now. Can you imagine all of that? Well, I wanted to bring that up. If anyone has any thoughts on that, go ahead, hit *6 right now. Let me hear what you have to say. What do you think? Go ahead.
Hey,
Yes.
hey, Rick.
Yeah.
Hey, so man, it's a great topic, and I want to talk about all those three things. I'll make it real quick. First and foremost, happy St. Valentine's Day.
Well, thank you.
And the reason why it's so important is because Jehovah's Witnesses hate St. Valentine's Day. I'll tell you why. Because there wasn't just one St. Valentine. There was two: the Valentine of Rome and the Valentine of Turkey. And they one performed miracles and restored the sight of a blind girl. And he eventually was executed for defying the Emperor Claudius on banning the marriage for young couples. But before that happened, he had already converted, a whole bunch of people converted to Christianity because of the blind girl's return to sight. But the point is, they wanted all of these young men for military service, but because he was out there marrying young couples, he was working against the state per se. And he was a priest, but there was a bishop who also, by that name, secretly married couples against the emperor's orders. And the interesting thing is that both of them were executed around February 14 in the year 270, which is why we celebrate St. Valentine's Day. And how this goes to Norway. If the Jehovah's Witnesses lose, they won't be able to marry their members. But none of the members of the governing body and none of the elders are willing to give their life and die a martyrdom so that young men and women can get married and have kids, create families, and continue the generation upon generation. The Jehovah's Witnesses and the Jehovah's Witness elders fall exactly into the words of Satan, where it says, skin in the interest of skin, and everything a man has, he will give to save his own soul. But later on in the book of Hebrews, where there's that long list of the great men and women in Hebrews 11 and 12 that talks about faith, the Apostle Paul eloquently said that the world was not worthy of these great men. And the Jehovah's Witnesses today are not worthy of St. Valentine's because nobody will give their life so that way they could marry the young kids in their congregation if they lose, right? These are the epitomes of cowards. They don't stand up to lawlessness. They hide their talent, like Jesus said. So the reason, in my opinion, Jehovah's Witnesses don't celebrate St. Valentine's Day is because they're not worthy of it. And whatever happens in Norway, it'll be just another proof that they will never stick their neck out for other people. And if they weren't, and if the country says you can't marry the Jehovah's Witnesses, they'll oblige because they will never be of the caliber of St. Valentine's, the two men who gave their life. And the last thing I was going to mention, Rick, like when you talk about AI, there's this video that's going around all over the United States. Everybody's seen it. It's Tom Cruise and Brad Pitt fighting on top of a building. And it's so realistic. It is so realistic, and everybody knows that it's AI generated. But the point is that all of Hollywood is like in stunned disbelief. So this is my point with Watchtower. Remember, I always tell you how like Watchtower is like Sears, right? They're just dying. Watchtower is in a state of shock. They don't know. We see AI coming, and they don't have a master. The reason they don't have a plan for survival, the reason they don't have a plan to get through this new technology is because they're a lying organization. They're filled with lies. You and I, Rick, we're not afraid of AI because we believe in a thing called the truth. We believe Jesus is the truth. We believe that the truth will always be here, and it's greater than AI. But because Watchtower deals in lies, they're like you said, they're with the internet. They can't grow. They can't. They're handicapped. Artificial intelligence, the internet, has officially handicapped the Jehovah's Witnesses. They're just like Hollywood right now. They're like stung. They can't move to the left. They can't move to the right, and they don't know where to go. And they're trying to figure out the future. And whereas people who love the truth don't worry about the future. You know, we know that the truth will always prevail. Good will always win. But they're in a different. And I think this thing about Brad Pitt and what's his name, the other guy, the actor I just mentioned, Tom Cruise. That video I think is so huge because all of these huge institutions they don't know what the future holds and they're scared. And I think Watchtower, like many others, are in that predicament right now. Does that make any? I hope.
You made sense. That's very fitting. That's very, very fitting. AI is gonna really create some monumental issues in the world we're living in. It's amazing.
We're going to enter into the world.
Yeah.
I hate to say this, Watchtower in the world. We are entering a new world, and we're seeing it happen before our very eyes.
Well, thank you, Gilbert. Thank you very much.
Mm-hmm.
Very good.
Yeah. All right, Bob. Take care.
Okay, thank you.
Send the check to my address. Okay.
Oh, yeah. Well, you're on Six Screens, JW World News. What do you think? What do you think? I mean, we know AI is going to change things. What do you think about that lying Rysdale lawyer? Boy, there's a lot to think about this week, right? But isn't it good? You know, I tell you all the time, I've been doing this program for 20 years now. And I have to tell you, never, ever have we had so much to talk about when it comes to what's going on behind the curtains of the Watchtower. It's really remarkable how much the Watchtower has been suffering. Friends, they are on life support. Stick a fork in them, take them off the grill, they're cooked. Where are they going to go? Where is a lying organization like that going to go? And then the world is now finding out about them. Elders are now, well, we're going to talk about that a little later, but where is the Jehovah's Witness world headed? Actually,
I think Gilbert had a valid point that with the new technology, whether it's witness information or news or Hollywood, everything, it's going to be hard to tell the true from the false from this point on. And I want to thank you for covering that case so thoroughly because we're not getting it elsewhere.
Well, what happened is, as I mentioned at the outset of the news there tonight, Pixie, avoidjw.org. I mean, that is a premier website. That really, really is. And they've been putting some heat on those guys. They had Watchtower Publications up there, and the subpoena has been issued to the company that put it up. Of course, JW.
I saw that.
Yeah.
I want to take them down.
Yeah.
They have just put nothing but facts on their site.
Yeah. And but you know, I'll tell you what, you got to be really careful with that. The Watchtower, that they have a legitimate complaint with that. They really do. I mean, I'm not trying to defend the Watchtower here, but in all straightforwardness, I could see where that site is down right now. They're not going to put it up until they get some type of a court rendering, and because I'm afraid that the Watchtower might win on that one. They might, but you know, you can use, and I thoroughly researched it, because you can use, you know, portions of an article. You can use portions of a book, but you just can't do the whole thing. Yeah, so it's for educational purposes, and you can.
One day we're going to have to rely upon nature to bring us back to reality. So be nice to nature, because AI is going to have everything so distorted that you're going to have to go in your backyard and spend time in nature just to come back to reality.
Well, you know,
Happy Valentine's Day.
I want to do that now. That and some of those taped cookies are good. That'll help you.
yeah, well, I'll tell you. Well, I like the brother that made that comment. We have to rely on nature. It is, everything is changing so rapidly changing. You know, I watch the business news. I like business news. I watch it all the time. So they had the man who it was the CEO of. It's called Restaurant. I think it was called Restaurant Brands. Well, they own Popeyes. He's the CEO of a Burger King, a Tim Horton. And so he was on the news the other day. There's another chain too. I forget which one it is. But anyways, he was asked, what is really going on? I mean, in the world of restaurants. And he said that AI is like it's really coming on strong. So he kind of mentioned the competitors. Well, we know who the competitor of Burger King is, right? I mean, everybody knows it's the yellow watches, right? McDonald's. And so McDonald's, I mean, they are the champions right now. And he kind of even alluded to that. Now that kiosk, when you walk into McDonald's, and at least here in Massachusetts, I was out in Illinois, they do it there too, but I don't know if they do it everywhere. But you walk into McDonald's, and it amazes me the amount of people that they don't talk to a person at the counter. They basically punch into a machine. That's all AI. They punch in what they want. There's no person behind it. And you put on there, I want a double cheeseburger. I want some extra onions. I want a Coke, and I want some fries. You do it all yourself. They don't even need a person. That is.
People out of work, isn't it?
Oh, that's going to put a lot of people out of work. A lot of people. And, you know, it's hard for me. And there was a man on the business news I was watching. He says, I can't stand that going into McDonald's. It's so, but you should see the people doing it. Boy, they can hardly wait in to get to the kiosk to do it. They love it. The kids love it. The young teenagers love it. Yeah.
You know, this pains me in a very, very ancient way, because for thousands and thousands of years, even back in ancient Babylon, even under very, very strict societies, women could go into the marketplace. They were free to talk to the shopkeeper. They were free to have a social engagement with other humans outside the home, even in very, very strict cultures. This is going to take away the social element of the shopkeeper, which I know in Boston, you understand what I'm talking about.
Oh, yeah.
And it's just going to be more loneliness. If I go to a restaurant now and just click in my order, well, I'm not smiling at the young person behind the register. That, in a lonely world, that means something. So we're really going to be more separated from each other. We won't be able to tell which news is accurate and which is spin, because it's all going to be Tom Cruise on a roof fighting with another actor, and we're going to believe it. So this is scary times.
Well, Pixie, you got me thinking here. You really do. It's something, you know, if the world went on, we don't know how long the world's going to go on. But, you know, if they've made this much advancement in such little time, I mean, just in the last 5 years, things have really changed. But if they made such big quantum leaps here in technology just in the last 5 years, what will the next 5 years bring? What will the next 5 years bring?
Exactly. That's exactly it. And it's going to be a different world. And you and I are old enough that, you know, we remember what the other world is. With kids coming up, they won't know the difference. They won't know that once upon a time there was a marketplace where people talked to each other. They won't know the difference. They don't even know what shopping in a grand store is. They don't go to department stores. Lots of civilization has been lost. They're not reading books. Fortunately, some people are still reading books. But and I think the Watchtower would have had a better Jesus movie if they just used AI.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, you can produce good video with AI. But you know what's even amazing? I even said to Susan today, you can order food here from Amazon, like these cookies. She bought these cookies from Amazon,
Wonderful.
and they came. I think it was the same day or the day after. Most of the food comes the same day, and I'm going, wow. I mean, they'll deliver a box of Wheaties to your house. They'll deliver.
I'm so happy for grocery delivery. That's something that's really been good, and especially for people if they're older or they don't drive. It's been a wonderful thing.
Oh, it's a wonderful. I mean,
What are the pluses and minuses?
I tip my hat to Amazon. I think I don't know how they can do it, even if you get Prime. Okay, so it's $120 a year, but my goodness, I go to the shopping center a lot on the way home from work and pick things up. But boy, I tell you, just make one call now and bingo, there it is. But I wanted to mention, go ahead. Yep.
You and I, we're not in the super rich category, so I'm not shopping at Saks Fifth Avenue, but I did look at their website today because they're going out of business.
Oh, a
So
lot of.
even the very, very rich people are shopping at Amazon.
Oh yeah,
So-
no, everyone is Pixie. But on that AI, just to get back to what you were even talking about, the man who really is accredited for inventing, but it was a lot of people. It's kind of like electricity. Was it Tesla? Was it Edison? Who was it? But AI. So the man they're really attributing to making a major position in AI is a man by the name of Sam Altman. And I've seen him on this business channel too. So about, I'd say 6 months ago, maybe a little longer, and he was brought in before a Senate subcommittee in Washington. And, that the senators, they were kind of concerned about AI and, where is this going? So, he kind of took credit for really getting this movement started. And what happened is he was talking, senators were questioning him on where is this going? And he didn't even know. He told me, senators, he says, I am really concerned. He says this could be a real problem for the world. And he kind of felt bad that he was like involved with it because he says, I don't know where this could really land up. Well, now all of a sudden the repercussions of it are starting to show up. Facebook, for example, Mark Zuckerberg, within the last month, they laid off, I think it was 18,000 people. And then you're starting to see other companies doing the same thing. And what Zuckerberg said about Facebook, he says, with AI now, we can have one person with AI do what it took a whole team of people to do just last year. Imagine that, Yeah.
Now, Johns Hopkins is going to have a big data center. This is going to be a plus, a good thing. They're going to have a big data center in Maryland that's going to be all medical information since the beginning of time through to the modern age. And it will be all AI, but it will be all medicine. And that will be a wonderful thing. Because right now, you're getting a general robot take on something, and you may not be getting accurate information, or you may not be getting complete information.
Well,
I went to a British site for a medical thing, and it was more complete than the American site, but it wasn't AI. But this Hopkins building is going to be electronically all the AI of all the medicine since the beginning of time.
wow.
So when they finish that, that's going to be a wow.
Well, Pixie, let's face it.
AI comes in different stages too. So right now, all AI is pretty much is a big information grab. They're trying to get all the information they can get and tie everything together. And we're not to the advanced stage of the robots in that yet. But right now, it's all just to get information, all this stuff tied together. They're going to know what you're buying, what you had on your hamburger for lunch.
Well, have you seen the size of some of these data centers? Now,
Oh, yeah.
they call these people that are investing in them, they call them hyperscalers. And these are huge, gigantic warehouses. And it's actually creating some issues for national utility companies like National Grid. They wonder, well, how?
It will go up. That's what they said. And they're worried about water quality, like they're worried about the water quality in the Potomac and different things like that.
Yeah, so it's just amazing, but only time will tell. But I do know Gilbert was right on with this. That this is going to destroy the Watchtower. That there's nowhere for them to hide. There really, really isn't. Before you had it, before AI with Copilot now, or Gemini, or Chat GPT, or whatever one you want to listen to and watch and go with, they're all good. But the thing that happens with most of them is they will keep doing deeper dives. I mean, it keeps going and going and going and going. I mean, until you get all the information. I'm in the sign business, and I'm trying to put together a very complex sign, and nobody had an answer for me. So I punched into AI the other day, into Gemini on Google, and I'm saying I don't think this would be in there. So who's asking these questions? Sure enough, it was in there. Everything you want to know. And as that brother was just saying who called in, they're going to have gigantic warehouses to store the stuff. Every single thing that's ever been said will be recorded there, basically,
And when you do your search, like let's say you were doing a search, you can put dietitian and put kale, and then say, what are the pros and cons of using kale? And it'll tell you the nutrition of kale, and it'll say, don't eat too much kale, and this is why.
Yeah.
So the way you phrase your question is very important to determine the accuracy of the answer that you'll get back.
Well, you're right with that. No, in fact, that we've been experimenting with it, and that's true. But I'll tell you, there's one thing that AI won't do for you, because my wife Susan tried it. She said AI. She punched in. She likes Copilot, Microsoft, and so she punched in there. Will you pray for me? And it came back. It's almost like a person talking to you. It came back and said, "We don't pray." Isn't that something?
Oh, they're not pro-religion at all.
Yeah.
If you just want the facts, you can get them.
You got it. All right, let's move on. Let's talk about more that's going on behind the curtains of the Watchtower. Let's see what else we got a special meeting. Oh my goodness, we got a special meeting coming up on April 18th and the 19th, and it seems to be shrouded in mystery. No one seems to know exactly what it's all about. They don't know if it's going to be televised or whether it's going to be half a day, a full day. But I've been hearing about this. Now, I want you to know, I'm not falling for it all. I mean, how many times has the Watchtower told us we got a special meeting coming up? We got a special talk coming up. And it always turned out to be a nothing burger. I mean, we're always waiting for something to be released, something that we can now understand, something that'll help us connect more with the truth. But it was never that. It was always some screwy thing that was meaningless. But this time around, there's something fishy about it. I'm not going to go on the record to say it's going to be a big thing, but they're talking about the zone servant, or the branch servant. You can call him what you want, but they're talking about him evidently delivering the message. Now, that's a little bit unusual. Usually the governing body delivers the message to the witnesses through their streaming updates. So this is a little bit unusual. And I'm thinking, I'm just thinking out loud. Don't take me as though I'm telling you the truth, because I don't know the truth. But I'm thinking what's happening here is there's so many people that are leaving the Watchtower, and they see it happening. There's people actually walking out of the Kingdom Hall. But also the governing body knows you probably got upwards of 4 million PMOs. Don't think the governing body doesn't know this. So that they've got to do something. Look, at many witnesses too are going to leave the organization because of what happened in Norway this last month or so. So there's many witnesses leaving. They know it. Maybe they're going to send somebody out there in a $500 suit, polish up his shoes, slick his hair back. Now tell the people what we're trying to do. So it might be, they might come on and say that we're being beat up by Satan. They might say that, we've got some issues with countries that are not wanting to allow us to do our work in them. And whatever they're going to say, I know they're going to tie in more donations to it. I do know that. It'll be a special meeting, probably last a couple hours. And then, of course, they'll be making a demand for more donations, more commitment to study, pray to God more. They're gonna do what they've been usually doing too with their videos, their streaming, their updates. They play some music, and they have the witnesses singing. They got animals playing in the background. They make it look really good, really good. And what it does, it's probably going to end up to be nothing, but it could be something. I mean, one of these days they're going to have a special meeting. They're gonna have to explain to the rank and file why they're on life support. They're gonna have to explain that. They're gonna have to explain why they're landing up with these court cases. I mean, don't you think the witnesses are finding out? I mean, you can't be that oblivious. This is what really boggles my mind. You can't be that oblivious. Come on, guys. Even if you're a staunch, loyal witness, you've got to see what's going on. Well, there'll be a talk. I'm sure they'll bring up at this special meeting that how great Jehovah's organization is doing. I'm sure you'll hear these well-crafted statistics on how wonderful it is that more and more people are joining the witness. Well, that's a bunch of baloney. They're going to make it bigger than life, and I feel that's exactly what they're going to do for this special meeting. So they make these special meetings. They make it sound like Jesus himself is going to come down from heaven and give the talk. That's how they make it sound. But when you stop and think about it, Jesus is never going to give a talk with the Kingdom Hall. Forget that. It's never going to happen. But, the witnesses, and I think most of you guys know it, but the Jehovah's Witnesses now, they have their own app. They have their own app like we have on our telephones, right? And it's the Watchtower app. And if you're Jehovah's Witness, you can get it. I don't believe apostates can get it, but Jehovah's Witnesses have it. Maybe some will share the numbers and stuff you have to do. But in the Jehovah's Witness app that's being talked about in the Kingdom Halls, that there's going to be this big meeting, and there's going to be the branch visit, some big guys coming in, and he's a big representative, and they're going to be able to discuss things. And so he's got the witness world is really all tied up in this big meeting that's going to take place. So only time will tell. Only time will tell. We'll have to see what happens. What do you guys think? Did you ever get riled up about a Jehovah's Witness special meeting? Did you get all excited? Oh, we got to go to the meeting because it's special today. I can remember doing that. I really, really can. And it always turned out to be nothing. And on the way home, you'd say to your wife, or your wife would say to her husband, there was nothing. There was nothing really there. I didn't learn anything today. Did you? But they would do that. It's kind of like a coming attraction for a movie, right? They're going to make it sound really, really good. So that's what they do. So what's on your mind? You want to call in? Let's hear from you. Hit *6. What do you think? You think AI is going to destroy the witnesses? Do you think these special meetings are going to do any good? Well, maybe you don't think that, but let's move on. Let's talk about something else. Something that really got me thinking a lot. And I wanted to bring this up here tonight. It's about the public talks, Jehovah's Witness public talks. There's this talk out there, and it's more than rumors. There's just some real serious talk being out there in the ex-witness world, and even in the Jehovah's Witness world, that the public talks could be replaced with something else. You see, they lost control. The Watchtower organization lost control of the public talk speakers. They need to institute a new meeting that is more controllable. Now you say, well, Rick, I don't understand what you're saying. Well, let me explain to you. It's very difficult. I got messages coming in here to the 6 screens. And one particular message, I took it to heart. I really did. It was a man, a brother, an elder, who was in charge of getting speakers to come into the Kingdom Hall. And there's a special title for that. I forget what he said he was, but there's a special title. He brings speakers in he calls up different congregations and say, hey, can you send a speaker here? And he said that they're having such a hard time getting speakers. No brothers want to give talks anymore. And I found that fascinating, but he says pretty much the rule of thumb. The brothers, the elders, do not want to give talks anymore. They're not happy with going out and one thing he said that was really discouraging the brothers. Years ago, it takes a long time to prepare a talk. I had public talks, and I'll tell you, it takes a long time. I remember one talk I did was called "Science, the Bible, and Your Faith," and I spent 40 hours putting that talk together. And I would travel around to different kingdom halls, and I'll tell you what. Some of the halls I went to, they had 100 people, 150 people, 200 people. So what's happening? You made it worth your while. You could meet new people, and you're speaking to a good sized audience, and it kind of got you enthused, right? But what's happening today is these brothers are putting a lot of time and effort, but it's all manuscript talks today, anyways. You can't really deviate. But they get the manuscript, they go to the Kingdom Hall, they give the talk, and there's 25, 30 people there. It's very discouraging. You dress up, you drive out 30, 40 miles, you get your wife with you, got your kids with you. You're going to go out to lunch afterwards, you feel happy, and you walk into a Kingdom Hall, and there's more empty seats than there is full seats. So a lot of these public talk speakers, elders, they don't want it anymore. So, there's rumors, I'll call them rumors, I suppose, that they may be doing away with public talks. And, they did away with the book study. Whoever thought they would do that? And the speculation why they got rid of the book study, some were thinking was because of, some bad sexual conduct or something could take place in a book study home, and the Watchtower would be responsible. But there's other speculation too, and it has to do with how many of the even the book studies I used to go to when I was a witness, many times those book studies got off subject, and they would begin to kind of suggest thoughts that really the Watchtower might not approve of, and it kind of derails some people from wanting to be active Jehovah's Witnesses because they got off the topic too much. So I'm thinking that this is what's going on right now with a lot of public talks, and they don't let the brothers deviate. They give them a manuscript, and I've seen these new manuscripts. I have an elder friend that showed it to me, and he says, Rick, they got to stay right. I mean, you can't, even when you're done with the talk, it tells you walk to the left of the stage. Everything is written down for you. Exactly. You're supposed to go verbatim for everything it says. But what's happening is some of these brothers are mirandering. They're getting off topic. And it's concerning the Watchtower organization. And I have to tell you, there were some pretty bad speakers in our circuit. And you probably had some pretty bad speakers as well. And so the Watchtower, you get some loosey-goosey elder going out there, and he mirandas or he gets off topic, and he starts putting his own thoughts in. It could be damaging to the Watchtower. Many of these talks, in my estimation, they were low quality. They were given by unqualified, or I would even call them eccentric speakers. Really, they didn't know what they were talking about. As a matter of fact, many times, can you remember public talks when you were sitting in the Kingdom Hall and you scratch your head and you say, "What is that man talking about? This is not even sensible to me. He's not even." That's his own thoughts. They would put their own thoughts into these talks. But when I was giving talks, you could actually, I had two of them. I had Science, the Bible, and Your Faith. Actually, from what I understand, there was 150 outlines or manuscripts now of 150 subjects. And you could deviate. I did not have a manuscript. They gave you like the thoughts that you want to put together, but you had to put it together yourself. And you could actually choose if the brother called you up and said, "Hey, Brother Farron, would you come out to Littleton and give a talk at the Kingdom Hall?" You could you'd say, "Now, what talks do you have?" Well, I only had two of them. I had Science, the Bible, and Your Faith, and I had another one about blood. I forget what the title of that was, but Take No Blood. I feel bad about that now. Maybe people might have even died because of that talk I gave. You feel bad about it. But the point I want to make with this is at one time you could deviate, you could choose what talk you're going to give. But now it seems like, this is what you're given. Come out and give this talk. And it's really aggravating a bunch of the Jehovah's Witness elders to the point that they don't want to. They don't want to follow the manuscript. They like to go back to the outline. And then another thing, these new manuscripts that they came up with, some of them go back to, they were 45. Remember we used to have like an hour talk? Remember we used to have an hour talk? Then they dropped to 45 minutes. So some of these talks still were outlined or manuscript for an hour. So now the brother's he's got to kind of be walking on thin ice here. He's got to kind of get rid of some. What do you get rid of? You had an hour. Now, what do I get rid of? So they're kind of, up in the air, and it's putting some brothers on a real spot here. So I wanted to bring that up tonight because I found that kind of fascinating. What do you think about that? Do you think that ever? Yeah, go ahead.
Rick, I'm sorry to bother you, it's Gilbert, and I want to let other people call, but that's why I told you those TVs are there. Those TVs that Watchtower has in the Kingdom Hall are the same TVs they have in shopping centers. They can spy on you. And security, that's how they do it for, theft prevention. So Watchtower is listening. And that's like what you said. Well, how does Watchtower know people are deviating? Because they turn on the microphones on those TVs and they can, and their sound system is connected to their internet. And the last thing is all of the Jehovah's Witnesses are stupid because they have an app on their phone. And so when the elder goes to his local bar or his little, sex shop, or he goes wherever he likes to go to get his freak on, that's fine. That's his business. I don't care. But Watchtower knows Brother Jones likes to visit gay bars, or he likes to visit straight bars, or, he likes to do this because he has a JW app on his phone. And then they all get the same advertisement from Amazon for attaché cases for their preaching work. But see, that's the whole thing, is Watchtower selling that information to other people? You bet your bottom dollar they are. And why do you think they have a JW app? There's a lot of money to be made on the app. And then also, they're not going to disfellowship you if you do any of these things. I told you this a long time ago. They have a dossier. They have a dossier on every elder. Why? Because the app tells them everything they need to know. Watchtower probably knows that you're gay before you become gay. They probably know, they just, because that's what these computers are so darn smart. I'm sorry to bother you, Rick, but I had to throw that in. But those TVs there and that app, it's if Big Brother's listening and Amazon is listening and Apple on my phone is listening, then why wouldn't Watchtower listen? And again, I hope you got the right address this time for the check. All right, I'll let you go.
All right, well, thank you. Absolutely, yeah. Commission check will be the mail. Yeah. Anyways, it's Gilbert's right on with that. He's right on with that. You don't know what they do with that app, and they could do all kinds of stuff, and people would pay them. I mean, let's face it. Yes. What would you like to say? Go ahead.
It's Maverick.
Yes,
Maverick here. I just wanted to a very interesting topic you've discussing tonight about AI, right? So I think if Gilbert's had gone to something, and I was going to pick up on something I thought while my cogs were turning while he was talking, if it goes fully away from a public speaker, and the only speakers that they Watchtower are the brothers and sisters in the Kingdom Halls have access to is the screened one, a screen brother talking remotely, then there is going to be absolutely no way for the rank and file to really pick up, as AI gets more and more sophisticated, to know whether that's a real brother on the platform. They can just give the script to an AI model of a brother, an absolutely perfect rendition of a me brother who's never going to say anything out of line, and they can literally create the perfect brother to give a talk, and they can change it up and say this brother's from somewhere else, and no one will ever know. They can say some visiting from somewhere else. No one ever
Hold on a second. All right. You there with us, Maverick, still? All right, Maverick disappeared. Come on back,
Yeah,
Maverick.
sorry. I just put.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm here. Yeah, I don't know what that was about. Yeah. So you can imagine, Rick, you just said that if they're sort of phasing out physical visiting brothers, then and the only talks that they get from in the future are ones that are, as Gilbert said, on the screen. You've got the perfect scenario for an AI fabricated, created, perfect brother who's never going to say anything wrong, and they can just say to him, listen, the AI will just know everything that's on the back record, so of the entire history of the Watchtower, so it's never going to make it slip up and say something happened like 1975 or something. So what do you think, Rick? That's my thing. I think it's definitely going down that road, I think, personally.
Oh, yeah, no, it is. There's this big monumental changes, Maverick. All of this stuff is just changing so rapidly. The Watchtower is having a hard time catching up with it all. Even Bethel.
Well, we could have circuit overseers that are just AI then.
It's possible it could come to that. I mean, you might not need them. And we don't know where they're heading, but I know one thing. Did you ever visit one of the Bethel facilities, Pixie?
Oh, yes. And I wanted to wish Maverick a happy Valentine's Day, too.
Well, we all wish him one. He's a good man, and that maybe he's a real good man.
Very much. Right back at you.
Well, thank you. But Pixie, so you went to Bethel. I mean, you weren't a Bethelite, but you toured it. You went there. It was exciting.
I've been quiet, but I didn't go to the fancy stuff in upstate. I mean, I know family members that have been to the tours up there.
Yeah, well, what it is.
But the old Brooklyn, the old Brooklyn stuff, sure.
Well, you know what was good? The reason why I even bring it up, even that is changing big time. It's almost, I'm not going to say it's all AI, but it's borderline. And let me explain why. Now, there's a number of Watchtower facilities. There's the Watchtower World Headquarters right up there in Wallkill, Warwick, I should say. Then you got the Old Kingdom Farms, which is Watchtower printing facility. Then you got Patterson. And so let's just work with those three right now. So years ago, I know I went a few times myself, but years ago when you would go to Bethel, you could see the Bethelites at work. There was something exciting about that, to see the Bethelites and be walking on the catwalks and you see the brothers working hard. They're not doing that anymore. Now, Wallkill, they still have a catwalk, so to speak, or you can walk around this catwalk and see them printing some material there. But everything, for the most part, all of the Watchtower facilities is now changed. Many people who are visiting Bethel say it's so boring. I mean, people used to go every year. They look forward to it, like going to Disney World, but not anymore.
They got a great animation department, a great art department.
All right, we're gonna.
That's interesting.
Yeah, it's.
Well, maybe they'll turn maybe they'll turn that media center into a data center. I don't know.
Well, what they did, what they've been experimenting with, if you go to the other Bethel, if you go up to Warwick or you go up to Patterson, they have like museums, from what I have been told. So you don't really get to see the Bethelites at work. I mean, that was part of the accoutrements of going there and seeing these things all happening in front of you. But now you walk into a really dull, boring museum that's all been whitewashed. It's not even telling you the truth about the organization. So they're getting a lot of people are really saying.
Lloyd Evans had a special that was about 40 minutes that showed you one of the museums. It was interesting.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you, Dick Borgie and I, back in 2014, that's when they were still in Brooklyn. Dick and I visited the Watchtower headquarters, 25 Columbia Heights, Brooklyn, New York. And we walked in, and And well, I told the story here a million times, but just for the sake of record, I was told before I even went down there, I wanted to go down and talk to Brother Loesch. I knew him, somewhat, not like a personal friend, but I've talked to him numerous times on the telephone. He invited me to come down to the Watchtower headquarters, but I wanted to go down in 2014 and talk to them. And I was going to tell them that they really got to think about what's going on, child sex abuse. That they got to come clean on this, or it's going to cost them millions of dollars. So I wanted to go down and see if I could get a hearing with him. So Dick Boyd and I walked in, but I was told that they have facial recognition. An insider at Bethel. Yeah. All right, we're going to get rid of that guy right now. He's coming in and he's disrupting the program. We're going to lock.
Conference has been locked.
So we'll lock it up right now. That's a Watchtower operative. They try to come in here to the programs and destroy it. But let's get back to the story. So I was told they have facial recognition. And at the time, I mean, facial recognition back in 2014 was still something new. It was a new technology. Now banks are using it. PayPal uses it. Everybody uses it. But back then it was new. So I didn't really believe this Bethelite. But I'll tell you what, I walked in there, Dick Boyd and I walked in. We weren't in 10 feet. And we were approached by 4 security guards of Watchtower. They had the JW emblem on their blue jackets, that blue they have. Yeah, so they said, now, you're Rick Farron. I said, yeah. Well, what are you here for? I said, well, I wanted to talk with Brother Loesch. Well, he doesn't want to talk to you. I said, well, how do you know that? So I says, see if you can get a hold of him for me. So he doesn't want to talk. That's what the security guards told me. I says, look, I got a very important message I got to bring to him. This is very important. He'll want to speak. But I said, call him up. So I convinced him to call Brother Loesch on the phone. So he called him up and nope, he doesn't want to speak to me. So they said, okay, well, get another governing body member. I want to meet with him now. And they wouldn't do it. They would not do it. But the point that I wanted to make is Dick and I, while we're in there, we visited the museum. They had a museum there. Yeah, they had a museum. And Dick actually got sick. I thought I had to get him out of there because he was getting nauseous. It was making him sick because all of the historical, not artifacts, but all of the stories they had on the wall and pictures of Russell. But, they have a picture of Russell, but they don't have a picture of his wife, Maria, what happened to her. They don't give the true story. So anyway, they had in the museum, there was a fake jail with rubber bars and you could squeeze through there, but they were trying to show how in the Holocaust, how people would feel in this little jail. So you could actually get in there and get a feel of it. So I saw Dick Boyd. He went into the jail and all of a sudden, boy, I saw he looked sick to me. He did. He looked sick. And of course, all the writings and the plaques on the wall showing how witnesses were so courageous, but they never told the real story about how not Russell, but how Rutherford was perhaps the one that caused all these witnesses in Germany to be persecuted in the first place and put into these prison camps. But anyways, Dick started getting very sick, and we had to leave because it was so much of a fake story. If you're gonna go in and learn about history, you want to try to get it right, Pixie? You want to get it right.
Oh, absolutely. I'm on that page with you.
So, but this was not right. It really was not right. It's the same thing with the Proclaimers book. And, Barbara Anderson, she's come on, and we all love Barbara, right? But, she had a part in writing. She didn't write the whole book, but she had
quite a book there. Now, they have a study version of it where they've taken the 400 or 500 page hardback, and it's a little purple book, and it's about 30, 40 pages.
Oh, the witnesses have that now?
Yeah, and they made a little mini study book of their history, but it's not everything that's in the Proclaimers book.
I did not know that. No, I did not know that.
They filtered it even further.
Boy, oh boy, that's but
you know what that reminds you of?
What's that, Zach?
That
Yeah, the Proclaimers book is a green book, right? And it's
Yes.
Jehovah's Witnesses, Proclaimers of God's Kingdom, or something like that.
Yes.
Well, my mother had a book on her shelf years ago. It was green, and it was Jehovah's Witnesses in the Divine Purpose.
Yes.
Do you recognize that name?
I do.
I have both of those books, but they also have a purple soft cover paperback that is not very big, that is excerpts from the Proclaimers book, and that's what the rank and file we're getting now.
So if you ever get to read portions of that Jehovah's Witnesses in the Divine Purpose, it seems to serve the same purpose as the Proclaimers book, but it's a much older book.
Yes.
And does not have as much information, I'm sure.
Yes.
Okay, that's all I want to say.
Well, Zach, thank you for sharing that thought with us. But yeah, the Proclaimers book, I remember when it was released. I was living in Florida at the time. Now that would have been, I'm just throwing a year out here because I can't totally remember it, but that would have probably been 1992, 91.
I would say 92 or 94, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, so somewhere around there. But I remember going to the Bayfront Assembly. Well, it was actually a convention center owned by the city, from what I understand. And it was a beautiful, right there in St. Petersburg, Florida, right on the Gulf of Mexico. It was beautiful. And so anyways, they made an announcement. Brothers and sisters, we are so glad Jehovah's providing us the history of the Watchtower. So, everyone's excited and they're clapping. It was a big book. The brother held the book. It was a big book, but I can remember this, I'll tell you, is just like yesterday. And so anyways, the brother said, now look at, in order to get this book, in order to get one of these books today, you will have to have been a Jehovah's Witness for 25 years. That's what he said. You would have to have been. So, if you're going to get the book today, let the brother know that you've been a witness for 25 years. Hold on one second here. The spam. This is Watchtower. See, what they do is they do not like the 6 screens. They're spamming me. That person was just playing the music on here. They were spamming me, and now I just got a call. They're gonna start calling on my cell phone. They got my number, so they're gonna go. These are Watchtower operatives. But let's go back to the Proclaimers book. So I'm getting used to juggling things here. You have to kind of multitask. You got people. Yeah. So, anyways, what happened is in St. Petersburg. So he said, yeah, you have to be in the truth for 25 years, and then he said that. What else did he say? 25 and some other, and pioneers and elders will of course have the first opportunity to get the book, or some comment like that. So anyways, my wife at the time, she was anointed and she was a partaker, but she wasn't in the truth for 25 years at that point. So anyways, she says, Rick, I really would like to get the book. She was a loyal witness at the time. So I says, well, they should give a book to the anointed. I mean, after all, you're a member of the faithful and discreet slave. So I remember going up, and then they had like a table. We had all the books. And I went up to the brother. I said, brother, I'm going to be honest. I'm going to be very honest. My wife, she has not been in the truth for 25 years, as the requirement suggests. But my wife is a member of the anointed class. So could I really get the book for her? She'd love to have it. And I thought they were going to give me a hard time about it. I really did. But he gave me the book. He says, well, if your wife was anointed, she can get the book. So we got the book, and, we didn't really pay much attention to it. We read it. We read it and saw things in and thought it was kind of neat at the time. But now that I'm an ex-witness and talking to Barbara Anderson even, who was actually been involved in the writing of the book, there's a lot of errors in there. And I call it the whitewashed history of the Watchtower. It's not the truth.
Well, I already knew about Beth Sharim, and of course that's not noted.
Yeah.
Hey, Rick.
Yes.
Hi, Nicole here.
Hi, Nicole.
So I really like that book. I really, really do, and I'll tell you why. Captives of a Concept is based off of that book. Okay?
Yes.
And Captives of a Concept use that book to show that the faithful and discreet slaves, the organization was built on that scripture found in Matthew chapter 24 that talks about who really is the faithful and discreet slave. And the writer of Captive of a Don Cameron, he used that book to dismantle that scripture and to dismantle that so-called prophecy or whatever it's called, tying it to the faithful and discreet slave. So I really love that book because that's what I use to dismantle it as well.
Well, Nicole, thank you for bringing that up. And you're right. Now, I think you live in Canada, right? I don't.
Yes.
You don't have to
Yes, I
say.
do.
I would send you the book because I got some copies here. I would give you the book if you don't have it, but they won't let me send books to Canada. You ought to see what I got to go through to send a book to Canada. Jeez, it's like going to the FBI and reporting some crime somewhere. It's like, what's in here? Yeah.
Rick, I'll send you an email giving you instructions on how to send it to me.
You
'Cause
do?
I know how to have you. Yeah, I know how to get you to send it to me without no hassle.
All right. If I can send it to an address in America, I can do it. And it's no problem. I'd be glad to send you the book. But they won't. It's just terrible to have to go through these days. Jeez.
Well, then that's what we will do. That's what we will do. I'll send you an address that I have in the U.S. and then they will be able to send it to me. So, or they'll be able to drive over the border when they come to visit to bring it to me. But no worries. I'll talk to you.
Well, I would love to send you a copy. And I want to tell people now, look, if you're listening in, you'd like to have a copy of the book. I've got 20 books here, different titles. And I want to give them away. Jim Hill, he says, Rick, get these books out there. He wants people to know, but I just don't want to, give it out at random. I would like to have people at least, because when you just give stuff away at random, nobody really appreciates it. I'm not asking any money for it. We don't ask for money here at the Six Screens. So, but if you would, I'll tell you what, if we can get a new caller calling in here, if you can be a new caller, you can muffle your voice or I'll put you on the voice changer if you want, so nobody will recognize you. If we can get a new caller calling in here that would like one of these books that I've got, I will send you a book. All I need is your address, okay? So let's see if we can't get that. I'll put you on the voice change if you want that, and that no one will recognize your voice. All right, let's see what else is going on behind the curtains of the Watchtower. Well, let's take a look here. We talked about Bethel. The other thing I wanted to bring up is I got thinking about this. I picked a man up. It was a while back, but it never really left my memory. He was a full-time pioneer in Lowell, Massachusetts. And I won't use his name. I'll let that go right now. But he was pioneering. Now, get this, folks. He was pioneering for 40 years. 40 years. He never had his license. So I saw him standing on the side of a sidewalk right up here in Lowell, Massachusetts. So I pulled over and I said, hey, brother. And he still thought I was a witness. He didn't know I'm even apostate, right? So I said, do you need a ride? And it was the middle of summer. It was hot, very hot. So I said, would you like to have a ride? He says, oh, Brother Farron. He still called me Brother Farron. Could you drop me off at my house? I'll be glad to do that for you. Glad to do it. So I had a good conversation with him. I said, so how's it going? How's it going? You doing good as a pioneer? I've been doing it for 40 years. I said, well, let me ask you something. Did you ever get a pat on the back? Did an elder, a ministerial servant, did they ever come up to a circuit overseer and give you a little pat on the back and say, boy, thank you, brother, 40 years of faithful service? I said, did that ever happen? No, he says, Brother Farron, it never happened. I says, those bums. And he agreed with me. He says, well, they're after me, and they're always giving me trouble. And he even referred to them as kind of nasty people. Now, here he is, a pioneer in the congregation of Lowell, Massachusetts. So anyways, he says to me, they were going to disfellowship me. I says, for what? He says, they were going to disfellowship me because they didn't like my cologne. I says, what? He says, yeah, they had a problem with the cologne I was wearing. I said, no, I never heard of that. So they actually were going to bring you into a judicial hearing because of your cologne? He said, yeah. I says, well, I didn't ask him what kind of cologne it was, but I said, well, how did that? I mean, did you stop wearing it? He says, yes. And he said, and then the story kind of unfolded here. He said that there were some sisters in the congregation, and they had this immune issue problem where certain colognes or perfumes would smell, kind of not that it smelled bad, but it would make them sick. And we heard of that so many times in Kingdom Halls too, where people would say that I have to sit in the back room because I can't take the new carpet they just put in here. There's chemicals that are bothering me. I mean, how many times have we heard that? I've heard it numerous times in the congregations. But anyways, he said that if he didn't stop wearing that cologne, they were gonna just have a judicial hearing, and he was gonna be disfellowshipped. I says, I never heard of that. But I wanted to throw it on the table here tonight. Well, what are some of the most strange things that you ever heard a person being disfellowshipped for? Can you remember anything? Now, it didn't have to happen in your congregation, but some people have been disfellowshipped for some pretty odd things, believe me. And even brought into judicial committee hearings, are brought into the back room over nothing, but the elders made a mountain out of a molehill. So would you like to share your thoughts with me tonight? Is there anyone that had that happen to them? I'm going to open
I'm gonna note the carpet because YouTube had an entire show on how poisonous some of that synthetic carpet is.
Yeah, well, I could understand that. I had the two sisters in particular that I know that suffered from that. One up here in Massachusetts, one down in Florida, and they had to sit in the back room. And there's something to that some of this carpet does have a kind of like a chemical smell to it. Yeah, so I can understand that.
Well, I told it earlier, but when I was a kid, somebody got disfellowshipped for smoking a cigarette, and they took it out in the parking lot, and they were gonna have fisticuffs with those elders because this is Virginia, and that's the cash crop, and most everybody here in that era of the 1950s and early 60s, unless you were a witness, most everybody in Virginia smoked. It's not a good habit, but it was part of the culture here. So he was really mad that he got disfellowshipped for smoking a cigarette.
Boy. Well, I'll tell you that still could happen. You would be disfellowshipped today too for smoking a cigarette. And, it fascinates me how much control, these men have over people and the scare tactics that they will use. And who has a story for us? You got one for us? Go ahead. You're on with it.
Just then back then, smoking was allowed. It wasn't disallowed until 1973.
You're absolutely right, Zach, because I can remember, and maybe you can too. Back in the 1950s, I can remember going to a Kingdom Hall, and after the meeting, all the smoking brothers and sisters would run outside and light a cigarette up. All of them. I mean, there had to be, there was not just one or two. There was like a whole gang of them out there smoking away.
Thank you for that, Zach, because I was trying to remember what age I was. I would have been 15.
Well, the way they got rid of it was a Watchtower study, and they explained that it would no longer be allowed. Smoking would no longer be allowed. And so no one would be allowed to get baptized who was still smoking. They would have to stop first. And people who were witnesses had 6 months to stop smoking. So they could smoke during those 6 months and try to break the habit. But after 6 months, they would be disfellowshipped if they were still smoking.
Well, Zach, you're absolutely right on that. And I'll tell you another thing. See, the elder arrangement came into play in 1972. And it was initiated in 71. They started talking about it, but it came into play in 1972. Now, the reason why you got my mind thinking here in a certain direction, Now, you had to give the elders, all of a sudden, you're going to bring all these men in, and they're supposed to be judges. They're going to judge people now in the congregation. Well, you had to give them something to judge. I mean, what good is being a police officer if there's no crime? So you gotta give these guys something to judge. So wasn't it kind of coincidental that you could now be disfellowshipped for smoking a cigarette? Now this just gave the elders all of a sudden carte blanche. They could go in and, hey, you're smoking, we'll give you time. It gave them a job to do, Zach.
Mhm. Well, prior to the elders, remember there would have been the committee arrangement, which consisted of a congregation servant, an assistant congregation servant, and a Bible study servant. And they were the ones who had the responsibility to hear cases and disfellowship or put people on probation or whatever they called it then. But it was always the same three brothers. So you had to deal with those same three. And if you had problems with one of them and you ended up in a committee, that one would be on your committee. So it was a little rougher when you only had three compared to five or so. They can pick, if they know somebody has a problem with a publisher that they're going to meet with, they can kind of like not use that person, not use that elder. They can pick three other ones.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. Boy, I'll tell you what, it's a crazy thing. But what have you guys heard? I mean, anyone called in the back room for something stupid, a judicial hearing, anything that really got you thinking that wasn't fair? They did that. I mean, I can tell you stories, but I'd like to hear your story. I'd like to hear if you did you ever hear? I'm going to open up the lines. I locked it because of those Watchtower operatives. So I'm going to open the line back up so you'll hear it.
The conference has been unlocked.
So unlocking it. So if you want to dial in, you got a story. I got some books I want to give you. Gonna give you a beautiful book here. Gonna mail it right to you. Not gonna cost you a penny. So why don't you come in, call in for the first time, or if you got a good story for me, give me a real good story about this fellowshipping. I'll give you a book. Whoop, there we go. That's the operative again.
Hello, Rick.
Yeah.
I have an interesting story. This happens to be for cigarettes. I heard this through the grapevine. There was a sister who got disfellowship for smoking. And the way I heard that they found out about it was she was driving her car on the expressway and she was smoking, and the presiding overseer saw her and like waved her over like he was a cop. But she ended up getting disfellowship. She was a smoker. I used to see her at the book study. I was a kid, and I see her at the book study group. And I noticed after book study, whenever she would talk directly to you, but she always was eating mint. And I could smell another smell. So I found out that was cigarettes that she was covering up all the time.
There you go.
The presiding overseer pulled her over on the expressway.
Oh, a dead giveaway. A dead giveaway. Oh, go ahead. You're on with us. Thank you, Zach. Go ahead.
Hey, Rick.
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead after you. Oh, okay, I'll be very brief. Thanks. I had a couple. One, the brother that comments from time to time, Joe, he reminds me so much of some of my experience in Watchtower. I used to go to the Thursday night meeting. There was a time there, Rick, and I was a kid. I don't think I was quite a teenager, where every Thursday there was somebody being disfellowship. Every Thursday. So right after you have the musical interlude, then they would say, okay, we have an announcement. And this one brother in particular who I cannot stand, I call him Little Hitler. He's about the same size and build as Hitler. And he just relished disfellowship with people. And so there was one person that he disfellowship, and that person stood up. Everybody else would cower to the elders. That person stood up and he said some things right out there in the congregation, and then he stormed out. It was really quite the scene. And the very next Thursday meeting, they had to apologize and reinstate him. And so he must, whatever it was, obviously it wasn't an actual disfellowshipping offense. He must have either contacted Bethel or he contacted the circuit overseer, and that decision was overturned. And that following week, they apologized, which is something we never saw these particular elders do. Very arrogant, prideful people. They had to make a public apology, and they had to reinstate that brother at the very next meeting. That just sent shockwaves in our congregation. Another story was a sister, and she was one of those that really wanted to get married. She was extremely beautiful, very talented, and could never find a quote unquote brother.
The conference has been locked.
So she wound up somehow getting involved with somebody. And so she, in her mind, I'm sure that she reasoned, well, rather than me continuing to get in trouble, I'll just marry this person. And they disfellowshipped her simply because she married this non-witness, and they told her not to. And I was thinking to myself, who the hell do these guys think they are? And they can just control people's lives. But that's why she was disfellowshipped. And then last but not least, I've mentioned this story to you in the past. There was somebody that I grew up with, and he was bumping heads with these elders in another state in Minnesota, Egan, Minnesota. And they disfellowshipped him. He was never told why he was disfellowshipped. He wrote a stack of letters about an inch thick to Bethel. They stopped even responding. Circuit overseers could do nothing about the situation. And he stayed disfellowshipped for 18 years because every time his reinstatement letter would go in, it would go back to that same group of elders who would reject it. And finally, this one particular congregation, because they had a ton of single sisters, and they decided to buck the system, and they said, we're going to reinstate you. We're going to give you a chance. Please don't screw up and make us look back. And that's how he got reinstated. And he got reinstated under one condition and one condition only. They never asked him, have you been clean all these years? Have you been having sex or smoking or drugging? None of that even came up. All they wanted him to say was that he was not going to talk about the injustice that he endured for 18 years. And in all that time, all the way up to the last time I talked to him, they had never even told him why he was disfellowshipped. Thanks, Rick.
Well, that's despicable. That's despicable. Thank you, Steph. And my goodness, oh my goodness gracious. The more you hear about these people. Yeah, go ahead, Jesse. I want to hear what you have to say. Go ahead, Jesse.
Hey, those are good stories. I just want to give you behind the scenes. Mine's a little different. Mine's from the elder's point of view. And I was a real young elder, me and Gilbert, and they never disfellowshipped us. They couldn't pull the hammer on us. So they took us out in different ways. But when I was an elder, and I know Gilbert too, in his congregation, we lived in our little town of Yuma. But I always fought for the kids. I always fought with the elders. And a lot of the people don't know who didn't serve as an elders. There's so much politics. I would come home almost vomiting from construction. So I would come home late at night. I neglected my family. I gave everything to the congregation. And I wasn't in a lot of disfellowshippings because they would always say, no, Jesse, you can't be in the committee because you love this brother too much. You love so-and-so. You're too close. And so there was a lot of politicking to not let me be. They thought I wasn't going to be an impartial. But these people already had their mind, these elders, that they're going to disfellowship. So they do everything. They politic to get any brother who might find somebody repentant, and they kick them out of the Judicial Committee. I mean, it is a rigged court system, the Judicial Committee. I wish every apostate could have seen it with their own eyes. What some elders have to fight, almost give their lives for the flock. And, I've been gone for almost 20 years. Not one kid that I fought for has ever come back and thanked me. Not one kid. And that hurts my heart. That hurts my heart because I gave my life for them up against vicious satanic elders, and not one thank you.
Well, Jesse, that's sad because I can tell you're a loving man. I can tell you are. And I can even understand what the elders were saying. Jesse, you might be good to stay out of this. So you show love, they show hate. I mean, really, think about it.
Yeah. And the kids are ungrateful. Yeah, like a kid, I had this one girl. She got this fellowship when she was 18. The elders did a secret Judicial Committee on her. She came home crying, and the brother goes, why are you crying, mija? And he goes, because Dad, they disfellowship me without telling the elder body. So me and that elder, we moved the elders to a committee for holding a judicial committee without telling the body. They did a secret committee against this girl. They wanted to disfellowship her. So we moved to remove the elders. And when we sent the letter to the Watchtower, what Gilbert said a little while ago is so true. They have a dossier on him. This elder's letter that we sent back to be the presiding overseer, because the presiding overseer had done a secret judicial committee, it came back red lighted. A red check mark means it's a no-go on the elder letter, because his wife had been writing in letters to Watchtower for years that he was real mean at home. They have a dossier on everybody. It is so true what Gilbert said. They have a dossier on it. They know you're gay before you're gay. They know everything about you.
Well, thank you for sharing that with us. No, that's good. Yeah, yeah. Yes, go ahead.
Hi, this is Craig from Florida.
Yes, Greg.
How are you?
I'm good.
Since we're talking about disfellowshipping offenses and some stories like the few callers ago where the presiding overseer pulled over someone that was smoking a cigarette, I've engaged in conversations in Florida with court witnesses, and I said, I understand you people don't do drugs. They go, oh, no. And I says, what about medical marijuana? It's legal in Florida. And one goes, well, yeah, you can. So I says, it's in your elder secret book called Shepherding the Flock of God. I said, where in the Bible does it say that you cannot, but now you can for medical reasons? Where does that come to light in the Bible? And then I asked him, I said, okay, let's say someone in your church, I say church just so they don't know I was an ex-witness. I said, they start smoking marijuana. Are you going to go up to them and have them prove that it's for medical reasons and not for entertainment? I said, if you make them prove for medical reasons, isn't that a violation of the HIPAA laws? Medical conditions are private. Do they have to prove to you in order to remain in your church? I just like putting them, they're a very litigious group, they're a cult, but they're hypocrites.
Well, Greg, that's a good angle. I never thought that would be, it's none of their business. You're violating HIPAA laws. You know, I don't have to share.
Exactly.
I don't have to share my medical information with you guys, but they'll squeeze it out of you. They'll squeeze it out of you one way or another, you know? Well, thank you, Craig.
Anyway, good watching your show. Take care, my brother.
Well, thank you very much, Greg. Always good to hear from you. Thank you. Yes, go ahead.
Rick, Zachary again.
Yeah.
You think it's difficult now? There was an elder who talked to me, told me about the way it was under that old system before they did the public and private reproof if you did not get disfellowshipped. Under the old system, if you did not get disfellowshipped, you got put on probation. And at one time, it must have been for a whole year, you'd be on probation. And he said to me that what would happen, what was required under probation is that you had to meet with the committee once a month, every month for a year. So you had to meet with them 12 times, and they would go over everything, anything any infraction, you know, you've missed a meeting, what happened? You know, it was such a system where they lorded over you. And it sounds like it was worse than the system today, where if you get reproved publicly or privately, you have restrictions and they get removed little by little, you know, within about a year. But the old system of probation, that sounds like it was you were getting root canal every month. When I talked to an older elder who was a servant under that system.
Oh, that's unfair punishment. Geez, I mean, people used to...
I don't think we did that in our congregation under the old system, because we all got along like it was an old country church, and my dad and his best friend seemed to know how to run things smoothly. But when the elder arrangement came in, our best friend moved up in the society, and my dad, they tried to push him out. and it was terrible.
Probation under that old system, that was the rule. You had to meet with that committee every
I know,
month.
but I don't think my dad and his best friend, who moved up in the society with more contact to Brooklyn and all, I don't think they did that very often when I was younger. I didn't hear about that. Whereas when they moved these elder arrangements in, my dad was really pushed aside by some of them, and it became very tyrannical. And the little short Napoleonic elder that was younger than my dad and his best friend comes in, and he wasn't in that congregation, and he has his own group in Costa Rica now. I don't know if he's a witness or not, but I looked him up on Facebook. He was a tyrant.
If they were in compliance, they would have done it with the organization. And I didn't know anything about that until around the year 2005, when an elder, we were talking, and he just told me, this is how bad it used to be.
Well, it might have been for some, but it was much better and much happier.
It was an organizational procedure.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, there you have it. Well, then, thank you, Jack, for sharing that story with us. Yeah, you hear some crazy things where you're called into the back room. In fact, there was a man up here. Everyone knew him. He used to have a show in the 6 Queens, Mark Paulo. Well, he was from New York. He moved up here to Boston area. And, of course, he liked the New York Yankees. And, of course, when you're up here in Red Sox country, you're not supposed to like them. But anyways, there was a brother in the hall who loved the Red Sox, and Mark loved the Yankees. And so he bet the Yankees were coming to town to play the Red Sox. So Mark bet him a hot dog that the Yankees were going to win. And so somehow somebody tattled on him, and he was called into the back room because he bet a hot dog on a baseball game. This is how foolish it gets. It's just unbelievable. But these stories we hear are just too much. There's 602. That's Gilbert. Yeah, Gilbert.
Rick.
Yeah.
Sorry, man. Sorry, but hey, Rick, I think you missed something today.
Yeah.
It just happened. When Watchtower is listening today and they interrupt your show, when you go back, Rick, in your memory, all the times that they interrupt you, you have a very good guess, or Barbara Anderson, or something like that. And so when I mentioned AI, and then Maverick talked about, because I talked to Jesse, we're going to do a Jehovah guy. There's going to be a new AI to replace the Stephen Lett crazy video. Who wants to listen to Stephen Lett when you can have a beautiful, good-looking Jehovah's Witness artificial intelligence speaker? And when Maverick was talking about that, Rick, they went ballistic and they interrupted your show. So all I'm saying is, George Norrie, the talk shows, was right. There's no such things as coincidences. So every time they go into your show, there's a 50-50 chance that they're just drunk or you're on to their schemes. And I think when in the future, Rick, when you start talking about AI, it's gonna piss them off, because I think there's something with Jehovah and AI that they're doing. And I think we're going to be on to them pretty soon. I don't know. That's just my...
Well, it's a good thought. And you know what? There's many skeptics. And, I've been doing this now for 20 years. But when you're doing something long enough, there's a certain pattern. There's a certain pattern that things fall into that kind of repeats itself. And there's certain subjects, as you say, Gilbert, that bring the Watchtower drunken Bethelites in. And, there's people who say, Rick, they're not. They're just people, spoofing you or whatever. I say no. I really have to say no. This has been going on for quite a while. And, of course, we did have a man, a Bethelite, that used to call in here and said that they have people working at Bethel that will deliberately do this, deliberately disrupt people, whether it's like podcasts or whether it's even, on their websites, try to cyber attack them somehow to get the information off. They work diligently to stop anything that is speaking abusively about the Watchtower. But I have to say with full conviction that these are drunken Bethelites or organized Bethelites. And on numerous occasions, I've been able to go back and listen into some of the things they're saying. And on one particular occasion, there was like a ringleader. It was a man with a British accent, not Maverick, by the way. It was a man with a British accent, and he was, okay, do this to Rick, ask this to Rick, try to derail him here, thoughts like that. So, it's a known fact that Watchtower does not like what the apostates are doing. And look at just this week, they basically shut down avoidjw.org, another apostate site. They shut them down for putting Watchtower literature up there. So they're active. Don't think for a second oh, that's great, it's wonderful. Gilbert and his brother, they can talk about the Watchtower and Rick and all of these different people. Oh no, they're watching. They're watching. They don't like it. And the thing that they don't like about the 6 grains is, we are supposed to be the most unhappiest people on the planet. We are supposed to be, people returning to the vomit, as it would be. You know what they say, mentally diseased apostates and all of this. But see, they hate it when people call in, we laugh together, we have a nice little community. They don't want the witnesses to see that this happens. You can leave the Watchtower and still have a good time with people, have fun. But see, they don't want us having fun at all. So we do it every Saturday night. In fact, this is where ex-Jehovah's Witnesses come to talk, right here on the 6 Screens Telenetwork. We're going to give...
You know what?
we're going to give... Yeah, go ahead, Donald. Yeah, we'll give you the last words here tonight. Go ahead, Donald.
Yeah, when y'all were talking about the AI stuff earlier, could that be the reason why they're not allowing Bethelites to work there longer? Because maybe they're switching over to AI. And I'm wondering, too, if because they do have their own AI thing that's similar to ChatGPT. They do have that, I know. But I'm just wondering if they're going to switch everything over to AI, and that's maybe why they're not allowing Bethelites to stay as long as they used to. I just wonder what you might think about that, because I think, to be honest with you, I think this religion is really a sign of the mark of the beast. Not so much with AI, but just with what they do as an organization. They're aligning themselves with the mark of the beast. I really believe that, because everybody's being told to worship the governing body, to praise the governing body. It has nothing to do with Jesus or God, really. They may mention Jesus or God, but it's really all about that organization and their leadership.
Well, affirmative. I agree. And I have to really say that you're right on. That is one of the reasons why they are letting a bunch of Bethelites go. It's so easy. It's so easy to write a letter. I wrote a letter to a doctor last week. And boy, I tell you, using some of the programming with AI, it's so easy to do it. Well, why do you need all these people to do research for you and write articles in the Watchtower? AI can come up with it in a second. Can we please write an article on Nebuchadnezzar? Can we really write an article on what the dreams were all about back in Daniel's day? Within seconds, you'll have it and just rewrite it, and bingo, there's your Watchtower for the month. So just add a few controlling sentences in there as well. So that's what's, I agree with you 100%, Donald. And thank you for coming in and talking to us tonight. Well, friends, we're going to close it here. There'll be no 6 Screen Sunday tomorrow. We do it the following Sunday, every 2 weeks. But now remember, we do have I leave the lines open. We have a conference call line here. It will be left open after the program tonight. It's not recorded. No one's going to recognize you in there. You just talk to your friends. So don't you worry. It's not on the air. It's just something that you guys can talk to and be friends with one another and meet and greet each other. So what you want to remember, though, is so there's not a lot of confusion. When you want to speak up, you hit *6 to speak up. And then when you're done, either hold your hand over the telephone receiver, or if you would hit *6 again to mute you. And there'll be better clarity on that after the hour's program, so to speak. So we want to thank you for coming in tonight and being with us. We always do. We know that you took time out of your busy day to spend some time with the 6 screens. And we really do appreciate you doing that. And if you like what we do here, friends, by all means, like us on Facebook and YouTube, and also subscribe to the channel and tell other people about what we do here. And we've been doing it for a long time. But our whole mission here is really let you know the Watchtower, they're counting down their last days. They really are. They know it's only a matter of time before they collapse. Well, you guys keep standing tall. Don't you ever give in, up, or out. And the last one, leaving the Watchtower, please turn off the new light. Okay, we'll see you next week. Thank you very much for being with us tonight.